Okay guys, I'm expecting the stock market to crash pretty soon. I'm going to show you where I will be shorting, the time frame and the targets I'm looking at. We're also going to cover the S&P 500, the dollar index, and Bitcoin. Before we get into that guys, I am giving away 3 of these 2020 American Eagle 1 ounce silver coins. It's 0.99 brilliant uncirculated. There will be 3 coins, 3 winners. All you have to do to qualify is subscribe, leave a like, and comment. The next live stream, I will use a random comment selector to pick those winners. My website's opticalartcrypto.com. All the charts I'm going to be showing you, you can access on my website. They play out live. You just click the link, they load up. They are shareable, so you can save these charts as your own. Follow me on Twitter, guys. If I see something like a potential point to buy or sell, this is where I go to make a post. It's quick and it's easy. It takes a while to upload videos, so do follow me on Twitter. It's Optical Art Chart. Link will be in the description. This is a video I put out on January 21st. A month in advance, I was calling for Bitcoin to crash and the Dow Jones to crash. So if you want to go watch this video, scrub to about 19 minutes 10 seconds in. That's where I'm talking about Bitcoin, and then you can see just about a minute later I'm talking about the Dow Jones. We're going to reference both these charts in this video. The link for this will be in the description if you want to go back and watch this, and I'll put a link up to it now. So this here is this was actually a live stream I did a couple days ago. If you want to watch this live stream, this just gives you an idea and shows you how these rings play out. When I started the live stream, price was here, and I was telling people, hey, pay attention to this ring because it's likely when we cross this ring we'll have a drop. It wasn't a significant drop, but it just shows you how these rings play out. Sometimes you cross a ring, you get a larger drop. Sometimes you could ride up a ring. But if you watch this live stream, it'll kind of show you how these play out. I'll put a link up to this now. It will also be in the description. Before we get into the Dow Jones, I just want to show you, just to give you an idea, this is JP Morgan. I want to show you kind of how these charts work. This is important because when we get to the Dow Jones, this will give you a better understanding of how these charts do play out. So let me change this to line drawing so you can see this better. If you'll notice, when I created this chart, I was pointing to the blue ring, the yellow ring, also this orange ring. But just to show you, you can get macro targets. You can see we're finding support on this yellow ring, support, resistance. When we pushed up, notice we got rejected at the next yellow ring. When we pushed up, we got rejected at this yellow ring, came down to support, pushed up to the next yellow ring, we dropped down, bottomed at this yellow ring, pushed up as resistance. Also respecting the blue fib circles as well. Obviously, since this is line drawing, you don't actually see the wicks. But if you notice, we came up, resistance, resistance, support, resistance. So according to this chart on the JP Morgan chart, if we push up, your target will be up here around $112. If we drop, you can clearly see there's been a lot of support and resistance. So if you drop, a potential target will be $97.18. And we are respecting these lines in this pitchfork as well. So this is how you play targets using fib circles for macro targets, how high it can go, how low it can go. This is Apple. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this on line drawing so it's easier for you to make out the actual where price is. But same thing with this. When I created this chart, these charts are meant to be zoomed in to play the chart. At this point, I was saying pay attention to these yellow rings. These are your support and resistance. Also pay attention to the orange fib circle and the white ring here. Notice we were finding support on the white ring. We found resistance to this yellow ring. We pushed up, found resistance, support, resistance. Notice we're interacting with this white ring as well. As soon as we crossed this this orange ring, that was a pivot. It went sideways and down. Notice we found support, we found resistance at this yellow ring. As soon as we crossed this orange ring, we came down, pushed back up to this yellow ring as resistance, came down. We broke below it, became resistance, support. When we dropped right to this next yellow ring. We pushed up, we actually touched this, but you can't see it in line drawing. But this was resistance, came back down, resistance. We're respecting this orange ring. So every time we cross orange ring, we get a drop. We cross orange ring, got a drop down to support. And then we pushed up. Where did we push up? The next yellow ring above. Notice we wrote up this yellow ring as resistance. I can put this on candle so you can see this. Notice we kept hitting resistance on this yellow ring. We pushed up, found support, and then we crossed it. We're also respecting these orange fib circles. But this is what I want to point out. Notice that when we crossed this white ring, we had a pivot to push us up. And this is going to go along with other charts I'm going to show you. This is why pivot rings are important. When you're coming up on a ring, price is respecting, this is a potential point where you can have a big move. Notice we found support, we crossed it, we pushed right up, right to the next yellow ring. and these are all the same fib circles here. So again, you know, we went from ring to ring, and now we're pushing up. So if, and again, this is Apple, so if we continue to push up, your first target above, you know, to get a rejection, just like you did at each one of these yellow rings below, rejection, support. So we push up, possibly get rejected at this point. If we came down, a macro target for Apple would be down here around $423. So this is just to show you, you know, this is the previous white ring, and you can see clearly what happened here. As soon as we crossed it, we started coming down. As soon as we crossed this one, we got a pump. So it doesn't mean that because the first pivot ring, because we crossed, we dropped. It doesn't mean when we cross this one, we have to drop. All it represents, it's timing for a move. We crossed this ring, it was a drop. We crossed this ring, it was a pump. It just means this is a point to pay attention to for a possible move. So this is the Dow Jones chart that I referenced in that previous video. I had this rewound back to the 5th of July. I just want to play this out so you can kind of see how price is interacting with these rings. Take note, these blue fib circles. Notice every time we hit a blue fib circle, we get a slight rejection. But watch what happens. And by the way, this orange ring was a white ring in the video. I made it orange so it stands out better. But watch what happens every time we cross an orange ring. And I'll also point out these yellow fib circles respecting as well. But let me play this out real quick. So notice where we come up, we find support on this orange ring. Actually, we drop below it, we drop to the next orange ring. We're supporting these white rings as well. But just take note the orange ring and the blue rings for now. And this white ring, yellow ring. Notice it was a resistance. Came down, we found support on this orange ring again, found support. Pushed up, got resistance at this yellow ring. We found support on it, pushed up. Keep getting a slight rejection at the blue rings. Notice we're getting ready to cross. We just crossed this orange ring. Notice this orange ring pushed us down to support. Got a slight rejection at the blue ring. Still pushing up, respecting this trend line here. And we're going to push back up. So we're going to cross the blue and the orange ring. Notice this one we had our major drop. We came down, found support resistance on this yellow ring, support on the next orange ring below. Notice we bottomed on this orange ring here. This is the same yellow ring and that yellow fib circle. We pushed up, found resistance at this orange ring. It's resistance and support. And finally we push above it. Notice we got rejection perfectly at this yellow ring. Got rejected at this white ring. And we come down to support, again. Interacting with the lines in the fib channel. And notice where we get rejected when we push up, right at that yellow ring. So, you know, at the time recording this video, it's the weekend. So when the market's open on Monday, it is very possible. Let me take this off auto. So when I was showing those previous charts, I was trying to give you an example of how these charts play out. So you can see, and I'll put this online. Maybe if I put this online drawing, it'll be easier to see here. So you can clearly see what happened here. Every time we cross one of these orange rings, we drop. Let me make this white so it really stands out. So you can see that we clearly, when we crossed this orange ring, we dropped. Found support on this orange ring, rode up it. We crossed this orange ring, had a small drop. When we crossed this orange ring, we had a massive drop. Came down to support on this ring, support on this ring. We had support on this ring. Then we bottomed right here on this last ring. And guys, this is all the same fib circle right here. So we bottomed. So not only did this chart help me predict when the stock market would crash, but it also helped us nail the bottom. And as we pushed up, notice we found resistance, came down to support, resistance, support. So we are riding up this ring, about to cross it. Now there's different ways this can play out. So it is very possible on Monday, you know, we've been respecting this yellow fib circle. So we came up, this is a point we could possibly get rejected and come back down potentially and find support. So we topped out on Friday right here, 28,759. So the way I'm going to play this, I'm hoping what's going to happen, I'm going to make this red because this is possibly a point to short from. So it's possible we start pushing down. You know, your next support level according to this chart, I have another chart we're going to reference as well, but your possible support would be down here around 27,778. So again, the way this works is since every time we cross one of these orange rings, we get a drop. So what I'm waiting for is once we cross this orange ring, that's when I'm going to put in my my short. It is very possible, if you notice, back here, we kind of dropped before. As soon as we crossed it, we dropped. Notice that when we crossed this, we kind of came down, we pushed up and then came down. So these rings can act a little differently. The point is, it is a point to pay attention to for timing. So I'm going to show you different scenarios how this could play out. So it is possible we're topped out right here. This ring has shown to be a lot of support and resistance going way back. So we could come down, find support, and then potentially we'll cross this ring. And at this point, if it plays out this way, right at the apex of the ring, I'm going to go in, and guys, the reason I'm doing this, while I do expect it's more likely that we have a drop, it's always possible we get a pump. Keep in mind, this right here potentially could be your upside target. This yellow ring right here. Sorry guys, my mouse is a little messed up. But notice, so if we do, you could push up. This is potentially your first target. Price has been respecting it. You see we got topped out here. Your next target above would be up here around 29,364. So what I'm saying is, it's possible we could cross this ring and go up. These are the possible points you get rejected. I think it's more likely with what's going on with the world economy, the global economy, that when we cross this, we'll come down. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to be longing and shorting at the same time. Once we cross this ring, I'm going to go in 60% on a short and 40% on a long. So if it happens to push up and it goes up a good bit, I'll take my profit, and then I'll expect this to potentially come crashing back down. But either way, I expect a major move to happen when we cross this ring. Now, so it is possible that we're not topped out, that we actually push higher. So we could potentially go a little higher, and a lot of times what happens is these rings will become resistance and push you down. Then when you cross, you can ride down the outside. That's what happened last time. So I'm going to see how this plays out, but I just want you to understand these rings act different ways, but it is a point to pay attention to for a move. So once we cross this ring, that's when I'll be putting in a long and a short, but I'm going heavier on the fact that I think it's going down. But take note the date. This is September 11th, 2020. So on 9/11, we'll potentially be crossing this ring. If we hit it sooner, we could push above it and cross it around the 3rd of September. If we drop lower, we could cross this, down here September 8th. So this is a chart to pay attention to for a major move. Once we cross this ring, this is when I'm going to be putting in a long and a short. This is the other Dow Jones chart, and this is just to give you an idea, just to show you how well price is respecting this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this so where it's, and remember, when I put on line drawing, it takes away these wicks, but let me make this, so actually let me put it on line drawing first, and we'll make this white. So look how well price has been respecting this white fib circle. This is I have these kind of ghosted, but you can see this is a pivot. We came down. As soon as we crossed the ring, there's a pivot to come down. We rode up this white ring. We came down. As soon as we hit this right ring, we rode up it as it was support, resistance, resistance, and then this is when we had our crash. You notice we came down, found support on this ring, resistance, support, resistance, came down. We pretty much bottomed on this ring, came up, resistance, support, working with all these rings inside. And then was resistance. Notice we topped out right at this ring. So these give you targets. These give you macro targets. This is resistance, support, resistance to support, support, resistance. And we're also respecting this this orange fib circle. Notice when we crossed this ring, this is when we had our drop, kind of respecting it on the way down. Pushed up as resistance. You got more resistance. You got support, support, resistance. So we're respecting all of these fib circles. So what I'm trying to point out here is, you see we came up as resistance, came down as support, we pushed up, we crossed it. So this is just going in confluence with this other chart. We happen to cross this ring. This is the ring that actually, this orange fib circle nailed the point. Every time we cross an orange ring, we drop. We actually nailed the bottom with this same fib circle. We bottomed at this orange ring. So we know price is respecting this orange ring. So we know there's going to be a potential major move when we cross this point. It just so happens that this fib circle respecting here, this orange one, we cross this last ring on September 11th. So I have two charts that have rings that show this date for a potential move. So regardless if we go up and down, whatever we do, when we cross this ring, I'm expecting a major move. Now if it was one chart alone, I probably would still go by this chart because how important this ring is. But seeing that I have multiple charts that show this date is significant because of these fib circles. That's why I'm going to be putting in a long and a short. The only reason I'm doing it long is because it is possible we could get a slight pump and then potentially have a dump. According to this chart though, let me give you these price targets for the Dow Jones here. So if we did push up, since we have been respecting this white fib circle, perfect resistance here, perfect support. So it is possible if we push up, we could test 29,604. If we push higher than that, you notice that we have been respecting this yellow fib circle. See how we rode up this? You see we found support on it here, pushed up as resistance. It was support, resistance, support, more support, and then we had a little pivot up and then down. So it is possible if we pushed up, we could push up as high as, up here would be 31,179. So again, that's what I'm saying. Actually, if we cross this ring and get a pump, we could pump as high as 30,746. So again, that's what I'm saying. When we cross this ring, I'm putting in a long just in case, and I'm putting in a heavy short. And one target to the downside potentially would be right down here. That would be 26,070. And then you can see, and since we've been respecting this yellow fib circle here, if this gets really bad, this would be your next macro target to the downside, 23,716. And if we go back to this Dow Jones chart here, since we have been respecting this orange fib circle, if we drop, so these would be potentially your upside targets. This is currently your first support. So let's say that we cross this ring. Notice we've been respecting it so well, support and resistance, when we cross this one, as well as this one below. So if we do cross this and we have a major drop, this would be your first support level. You can see we've been respecting this as support and resistance. Your next would be this yellow ring. You notice we topped out at this yellow ring. The next yellow ring below is right here at 24,844. And if it gets really bad, your next support level will be this next orange fib circle. So we could potentially do something like this, cross this, and then we could start coming down to put in a bottom. And if that does not hold, the next fib circle below, the one we bottomed on right here, this would potentially be right here around 19,253. And if it gets really bad, the next orange fib circle below, which this would be one hell of a short if this played out, but your next fib circle below is 14,211. So the point I'm making is this helps you using fib circles. You can see we're respecting the fib channel lines, but the fib circles help you with macro targets and they help you with pivot points. And I know for a fact that something's going to happen when we cross this ring. Now we could get a small pump before a dump, or we could just cross this and get a dump, but your target's already marked off. This is your next, this is your first target if we have a major drop, 23,898. Your next one's 19,253, and if we break this, this would be the next ring below, 14,211. So this is the S&P 500, and I just want to cover this briefly just to show you we have been respecting this white fib circle here, and I'll just zoom out a bit, give you the bigger picture. Notice we got resistance here, we pushed up, kind of pushed up. Once we crossed this white ring, we came down. We found support, resistance, support, we dropped below it. We're respecting these other fib circles as well. You can see we're respecting this yellow fib circle nicely. We came down to support, and we pushed up, found resistance on this ring. We pushed up to this ring. You can see right here, it became support. This ring was support. We came up to this one as support, rode down this one as resistance. As soon as we crossed it, we had a pump. And we're respecting this white fib circle. We pushed up, we found resistance. We came down to support. We're respecting these fib channel lines. But notice every time we hit this white ring, we get rejected. Rejection, rejection. And we got a small rejection here. So as soon as we hit this point, we got a rejection, came down, pushed above it, found support, and then went sideways. So with the S&P 500, it's very possible that we could continue to push up. We might get a small rejection, kind of move down. Potentially at this point, we could push up. We could go as high as this next ring above would be 3,669. Notice I have this line marked off. This is September 11th. And the reason I'm doing that is because, if the Dow Jones is going to crash, potentially the other markets will crash as well. The S&P, the NASDAQ. So that's why I had those marked off. But I do want to show you the amazing thing, guys. The reason I created this chart, this method of charting in the first place, was to find a support and resistance levels on the macro scale as well as pivot points. So this is just an example. If you want to watch my tutorials to learn how to chart this way, I do have that on the website, so if you want to check that out. But just to show you, if I create a Fib circle, notice there's this, we know that we're respecting this blue line in this Fib channel. And this right here, this is all the same Fib circle. You can see right here. So just to show you how the amazing thing is, once you set up these charts, I can go from this ring right here and just move down to this ring following this line right here. And let me make this so these are all the same color here, or make it the same thickness. So notice right here, just by doing this, so we just created a Fib circle. We went from this one ring right here down to this ring. So the amazing thing is, once I create these Fib channel charts, I use intersecting points in the Fib channels to create Fib circles. That's how I get the Fib circles so accurate. But then once you have your Fib circles placed, you can go from intersecting points from a ring and a line, or a ring and a ring, down to the next ring, and look what happens here. Look how price respected this Fib circle. So that's how I keep adding on to these charts. I keep adding on, hitting save, and updating the charts as price moves along. But look at this, perfect resistance, found support, pushed up, came down to resistance, had a little pivot to come up. Notice we got resistance here. Notice this ring, it became a resistance, then it was support, support, support. We pushed up. Where did we get rejected? Right here at this ring. So the point is this is how you find these pivots. So we know potentially, we could potentially come up and your first resistance might be up here around 3,564. And it's possible if we continue sideways, this could be a pivot point. So right here, depending on how this plays out, but when you have kind of a roadmap what price is doing, it kind of helps you out with your trades. So it is possible at this point, we could come up, we could get rejected. I got to get a new mouse, guys. But we could come up, we could get rejected, kind of do something like this, and we could either ride up the inside of this ring like this to this target, or potentially we could do something like this, and even on the outside we could push up. The point is, since price is respecting this Fib circle, this will either become support, resistance, or when you cross it, you can get a pivot to come down or a pivot to go up. And again, your target above would be, right up here. But this is the point. I'm just giving you an idea how to play these. But this will be the point, when the Dow starts coming down, I expect everything else to come down as well. So in this will give you macro targets and also smaller targets. Now that we just added this Fib circle, you can see that if we do break below this yellow ring, you can see price is respecting this first yellow ring. So a potential target to have a drop to would be right here. So rings do help you with support and resistance. Your next one below is potentially right here. And then, if this ring pushes us down, a likely drop target, since price is respecting this white Fib circle so well, a good drop target, after we cross this 911 right here, this could be your first support, as well as all of these yellow rings. So again, it helps you with targets. If you come down and you stop right on this ring, this might be a point to long from. The dollar index, so I have two versions of this. Again, I have stocks. I have a bunch of stocks on the stocks page, not just JP Morgan and Apple. I've got Tesla and Boeing, a bunch of other ones. But the dollar index I added as well. I have in the A version and the B version. This is the A version. Notice when we came down, we found support on the screen ring. Support, support, support. Found support again, broke through. Notice that this orange ring right here, that's what this orange arrow represents. Notice we found support on this orange ring and this yellow ring on a more macro target. We pushed up, we found support on the screen ring again, found support, came below its resistance. Notice we came down, we respected this orange ring, we respected the next orange ring. Perfect support, pushed back up, a support and resistance on this green ring. We came down, we found support again, we broke below it, now we're kind of coming down. Remember, if the dollar's down, that's bullish for the stock market and for Bitcoin. If the dollar pushes up, then that is bearish for gold, silver, Dow Jones, Bitcoin, everything. But I think it's likely what's going to happen. Notice that I had this marked off as a resistance line here, and I'll show you the next chart, but this has been resistance. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is, we're probably going to continue to hold support on potentially these orange rings or this this yellow ring here. But let me show you this. This is the dollar index B chart. So you can clearly see this is what I'm talking about. This has been our resistance since the 26th of May. Resistance, resistance. You've got a lot of resistance here. Just rode down the inside of this line. And we are coming up on this resistance. So if we stay below this resistance, obviously that's bearish for the dollar. This continues down. Everything else is going to go up. So if the dollar starts tanking, guys, you want to be longing Bitcoin, gold, silver. But what I think is playing out, while this, and I have this yellow line here, just marking off this yellow fib channel line. You see, we did get, you find some support on it, support and resistance. You found support here. You found resistance here. But what I think is playing out, so this is our support level right here, and this has been our resistance. You can see it came down. We're also respecting these fib channel lines going this way here. Notice this was our resistance as well. But what I think is playing out is that this is our resistance right here. I think what we're forming possibly is a descending broadening wedge, something like this. And if that is the case, it is possible that we've already tested. This was resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, support. We didn't quite make it up again, so we could come down. We could potentially ride up this ring. If that's the case, and we break this point, I think we would get a major pump in the dollar. It's also possible we could break this ring, and this would confirm this descending broadening wedge. If we touch this point, and this would be right here, this would be 91.86. So if we hit at that point and then start pushing back up, might get resistance here, push above. But if we come up and we break past this, I expect the dollar to just push straight up. That would play along with what I'm expecting to play out with the Dow Jones. So let's just mark this off just to see. So if we put a vertical line at 911, that is right here. So that is right here past the apex. So if this plays out, and by the way, guys, this is a descending broadening wedge coming from the downswing. Support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance. You hit support, you push up, you break through resistance. So if this is a descending broadening wedge, which it clearly looks like, you can see that price, we were coming from a downswing like this. Support, resistance, support, didn't quite make it up, and we're coming down to test resistance. So if we push back up, we're going to break above this point. And if we break above that point, we're already breaking above a major resistance level. And if that's the case, it could be something like this. And again, if this happens around 9/11, this would go in confluence with the Dow Jones chart showing that something major is going to happen. And obviously, again, guys, if the dollar ends up tanking, then more likely you would be longing after September 11th. If the dollar starts pushing up, then you definitely want to be shorting. So I just want to show you the dollar index and how this is playing out. So let's get on to Bitcoin. So I'm going to cover a few Bitcoin charts. This is a Bitcoin chart I referenced in that video earlier. So this is the fib circle that I was predicting that we would have a possible dump after we cross this ring. But take note, so this is all the same fib circle here. So how this could play out, notice this ring, and if we go back, you can see how well price is respecting this fib circle. Right here we found support, and we pushed up. This is a pivot to come down. And you see we had support and resistance here. We rode up this ring a bit. We came down, we found support. You can see we found support here. Pushed up, this resistance and support. Pushed up, got resistance here. This was support and resistance. We also got topped out of this ring. Notice this yellow ring was a pivot right here. But what I'm pointing out is it could play out in multiple different ways. It's possible we could do something like this, right? Where you ride down the inside of the ring. That would be something like this, where we just stay, on the inside of this ring. Notice I had this marked off September 11th. That's one scenario. The other one is like this one. We found resistance at it. We pushed above it and then rode down the outside of the ring. If that plays out, then it's possible it could be something like this. We could potentially push back up. Notice every time we push up, let me get rid of this here. Notice every time we push up, we get rejected by this this fib circle right here, this red one. So we came up, we got rejected, rejected, rejected. We came down, we got rejected, rejected. So we could push up one more time, crossing this ring, get rejected right here. This would be 12,885, and then we start riding down the outside of this ring. Your first support level based on this chart would be right here around 7,370. Your next orange ring below would be down here at around 2,978. So again, that's what I was saying. If the Dow drops and hits that first support level, this could be your first support for Bitcoin. You know, if it starts moving back up, Bitcoin move up as well. If the Dow drops lower to that next ring, this would be a potential point for your next target. So that's what I'm saying. Just pay attention. Price has been respecting this fib circle, and that's why I've been trying to show you how these fib circles work, so you understand why I'm expecting a major move. It's not just two charts of the Dow Jones showing that something's going to happen around 9/11. We're coming up on a ring that previously price has been respecting. So I'm expecting a major move for Bitcoin as well. Let's go to this next chart. This is the gaps. This is the CME Futures chart. Again, all these charts are accessible on my website. Notice we already filled this gap above between 11,950 and 11,695. It is very likely that we come down and fill this gap. So your first target to the downside, and it's very possible we come down, we fill this gap, and then push back up. But it's likely we come down and we fill this gap. Your bottom target would be around here at 9,665. Keep in mind we have a gap around 8,945, a gap at 7,665, and we have a gap all the way down here at 3,595. Just wanted to point that out. This is kind of interesting. I've seen some other people use this chart as this resistance level. What I'm going to show you, this is on the weekly, and you notice I'm just coming from the meat of the candle, just following it up. So if you look at it this way on the weekly, this looks kind of bullish because we're finding support. This was a resistance, it became support, it was resistance, resistance. Now we're above it holding support. But I want to show you, if you look at it on the daily, and let me show you this trend line here. So if I turn this on, hold on here. So if you look at this on the daily, it's a completely different picture. So with this one, I'm just coming from the top of the candle. You see that we found perfect support, support, support. This is resistance, resistance. So right now, on the daily, this is actually bearish. And we got resistance right here, support, resistance, support. We drop below it, so now we're finding resistance underneath this trend line. So again, that's what I'm saying. If you look at it on different time frames, you can get a different perspective. On the weekly, it looks bullish, but currently on the daily, getting more detailed with your support and resistance levels, it looks like we could potentially start coming down from this point. Let me go to see this chart. This is just showing you another chart that's kind of in confluence and just showing you how price respects these fib circles. You can clearly see that price was respecting this this yellow fib circle. Notice when we crossed this yellow ring, we had a drop respecting these fib channels as well. We pushed up, as soon as we crossed this yellow ring, we had a drop. When we hit this ring, we pushed up, and then we rode down. Every time we crossed these rings, we rode down to the bottom. Notice we came down, we found support right here, pushed back up. And again, the better price is respecting a fib circle, the more confident I am the fact that we're going to get a pivot. So notice we perfect resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, support, support. And look what happened when we crossed this yellow ring right here. This, if you were paying attention to this ring, as soon as you crossed it, you got a pump right to this next ring. We pushed above it, came back down below it, became support. Right here, you can see this is where it has some crazy, we pushed up, it was support, and we had this major push up, came back down as support on this ring, and you can see how well we're respecting this blue fib circle. Again, this is what I'm talking about with these rings. Always pay attention. Right here, we crossed this yellow ring, we got a major pump to the next yellow ring, it was resistance. Right here, we crossed it, not much happened. We had this, this little bark that formed. So, it did predict something happened, it just wasn't that much of a move. But look here, this next ring out, again, guys, same fib circle. So nothing much happened here, but that's why I say always pay attention to these rings. Even if nothing happens at this ring, you see something major happened at this one, you got another major pivot at, let's see, what, 3 rings out from the last one. Major pivot going up. So again, that's why I'm saying pay attention to these rings. And notice when we push up, we got resistance and support on this blue ring. We pushed up to the next blue ring as support resistance. Currently it's resistance, so we could push up. Right here is 11,631. What I'm getting at is, it's possible this continues to push us down. And let's put a vertical line showing 911. So that would be right here. So it is very possible that we continue to push down. This is another chart showing that something's going to happen. If we stay below this, we could potentially continue to drop from this point. We know that this was a pivot ring. It's also possible when we cross this ring we could get a pump. Last ring we did get a pump, so it's possible we could push up until we hit a certain point. Again, just pay attention when you cross rings, especially when prices have been respecting them so well. This here is another chart. This is the Binance BTC USD T5 1220. What I would like to point out on this chart, and I'm going to put this on line drawing. I'll turn off this ribbon so it's easier to see what's going on here. But notice that this fib circle here, and this is a huge fib circle going way back. You can see right here we topped out, kind of rode down this ring, found support on it. We pushed up. We found support on this ring. We pushed up, didn't quite make it to this one, but this held as resistance. You can see when this pushed up, perfect rejection, support and resistance. We pushed up. Notice we're respecting this blue fib circle as well. We just kind of rode up the channel between these 2 blue rings. So we pushed up, found support on this orange ring. We came back down below it, found resistance, also respecting this blue fib circle as support. As soon as we broke it, this is when we had our drop. Notice we bottomed right on this blue ring. We pushed back up as support on this orange ring, came up to this next orange ring as resistance, became support. Again, these are your macro targets. If you push up, your next resistance is this orange ring. We pushed up to the blue ring as our resistance, support, just going back and forth, respecting this orange ring. Then you can see right here, we pushed up, we found resistance. As soon as we broke above it, we pushed up to the next blue ring. And we pushed up to this blue ring, and this blue ring is currently acting as resistance. So according to this chart, guys always reference different charts, but you can see if we push up according to this chart, your resistance would be right here around 11,777, and if we drop, you will have support on this ring around 10,870. Let's put a vertical line here just to reference where September 11th will be. That would be right here. So this is coming towards this apex. We'll have to see what happens. So it's very possible we could come down. We could even push up, but we could come down, and then as soon as we break this orange ring, just like back here, as soon as we broke this orange ring, we came up as support, we had a drop. So we could potentially do something similar, and then right here is where we could have another major drop. Just showing you how you can play these rings and just different scenarios that can play out. This is the Coinbase weekly chart. This chart has been very on point for giving macro targets. So I'm going to go through some of these tweets, but I was telling people that when we got to this point, if you'll notice, this line right here has been a lot of resistance. I'll kind of mark it so you can see it. You notice right here, this was that major resistance level I was saying that I did not see us getting above. Notice every time we got above it a bit, we came back below it. But you can see this clearly was a lot of resistance, a lot of support, a lot of resistance. So I made a tweet saying that when we were at this point, it seemed likely, since this was strong support and resistance, that we would not get above this point. And this was a tweet I made here. This was on August 20th. This is right here. This is 11,835. I was saying it was more likely we would get topped out here, and your next support would be down here, 11,370. And you can see how this played out. This ended up being resistance. We came down. We hit this target almost to the tick. See, 11,366. At this point, we'd pushed up. I think I made a video about it. We were in a rising channel, and then we broke down. Notice at the point I said your next support would potentially be right here. But you have to keep in mind, we've been testing this line so many times. This was the support that we were testing right here. We tested it so many times, eventually it's going to break. But you'll notice where we came down and we found support was right here at 11,200, and I made a tweet about that. This was on August 21st. 11,369 where I had it marked off at the time, but notice we had just come down. This is your next support level to buy, and you can see how this played out. We came down, we found support, we pushed up, previous support becomes resistance. So saying this is a point you potentially sell. That is this tweet right here. You can see 11,446, 11,400, well, close to 11,446. So this was strong resistance, and then said when you come down, this would be a potential point to buy because we're respecting this yellow fib circle. I'll show you this in the more macro. But notice we came down. I think it's this tweet here. Yeah, so right here. So we got topped out right here. We came down, so this was your next support. And this is also in that live stream I referenced. If you want to watch that live stream, we watched it come down and test this. And this is how it played out. It came down, so this is a perfect point to buy. And notice right now, at the time recording this video, this is currently resistance. So this would be a point you potentially sell and ride back down to, if you I mean, it's possible we break below it, but we have been respecting this ring. So this would be a point to potentially buy around 11,000. I do have a lot of charts. If you watch that live stream, I kind of cover different charts. A lot of charts are showing 11,000 is very strong support. For macro targets, guys, if again, whichever way this goes, let me get this off because there's a lot here. But just to give you some macro targets, if we drop, your first support level is going to be this ring, because you can see we've been respecting this ring going back a good ways, and I'll show you this on the macro as well. This would be your first support, and keep in mind if you watch that live stream, I have a lot of charts showing 11,000 is strong support. Your next strong support below will be this fib channel down here, so potentially 11,800 to catch a bounce. If we do come down and we push back up, your resistance above will be right here, potentially 11,650. Your next resistance above that to get rejected, 12,243. Keep in mind this is an angle, so if we're further out here, it could be 12,351. And then your ultimate point to get rejected, I do not see us getting above that point. If you go back watching previous videos, you'll understand why this is such strong resistance. If we did get above this point and held support, that's when I'd become bullish. But I do think we have further downside. Did want to show you that. Let's go to, let's see here. This is that chart. Let me turn off the VPVR. So this is that same ring that I'm referencing right here. You see this yellow ring? This been support twice. This is this same ring, and if I zoom out, by the way guys, this is another Bitcoin chart showing that September 11th something is going to happen. Notice this blue ring, this white ring shows 9/11. So it's possible, I'm telling you, a lot of charts are showing this date for something to happen. That's why I'm going long and short on the Dow at that point. And again, I expect Bitcoin to make a major move as well. But I did want to show you that yellow fib circle. You know, this was resistance. This was, you know, we pushed above it. This was support. We broke it, came down to this yellow ring, pushed back up as resistance. We got topped out. We're currently above it as support, but you know, we came above it here. You know, we pushed up, resistance, support. We broke it. That's when we dropped down to the next ring. So, you know, we found resistance. We found support. We could break this, come down below it, and this is the point this could just start tanking. And according to this chart, this would be one target here, which would be around, let me put a price label here, you know, potentially down here at 4,119. So again, guys, I have different charts of targets. I will make another video about some drop targets for Bitcoin. I think it's peak of the bull run and the one-day capitulation chart. In the next video, I'll cover that for potential drop targets for Bitcoin. If it goes as low as I think it may, I will cover that at some time. This has gone kind of long. This is the Bitstamp BTC USD 726.20. This has been great for smaller targets. You can see how well price has been respecting these fib channels. Notice when we pushed up, this right here was, if you'll go back and look at the dollar index on this date, August 27th, you'll notice that right here, if you'd watch the dollar index, the dollar was dropping. Bitcoin started pushing up. Notice we topped out right at this line. This was right here at 11,600. And at this point, then the dollar started pushing back up and the Bitcoin started dropping. And this is a point, if you go back, watch that live stream where I was talking about when we hit that ring, we were expecting a drop. This is when we started coming down. But this is good for price targets. You can see currently we got topped out at this point right here. And these will be your targets on the way down. So if we did push up, your next resistance would be 11,700. Your current support is 11,444. You drop below that, your next support is going to be here around 11,365. So this is great for swing trading the smaller targets. Keep in mind this line right here. If I pull this out, just want to show you, this goes way back. This goes back to the 15th of August. This has been a lot of resistance. As soon as we pushed above this, we got a major pump. Notice we keep finding support on the same line right here. Support, 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 support. We found more support. So a very strong support level. If we pull this out, and take note, this is at a downward angle, so the longer it takes to hit, the lower that target will be. But let's say we kind of come down and sideways, a very strong support level would be down here around 11,800. So again, if you use these charts in Confluence, notice 11,800 on that other chart is where, let me see, go to this chart here, 11,819. So I'm telling you, this is a point I'll buy in to catch a bounce. I expect when we hit this point, just like we hit here, caught a bounce, we hit here, we caught a bounce, we caught a bounce on this ring twice. I'm expecting when we hit this point, we'll catch a bounce. But take note, this is at an upward angle. This shows 11,800. And if you'll notice this chart, this is at a downward angle. This shows 11,800. So in order to hit this target, since one's going on a downward angle, one's going an upward angle, this kind of gives you a time frame when we could hit this target. So this could be potentially, this would be the 30th of August. So again, just pay attention. If you look at these different charts, it kind of gives you an idea where price is going. It gives you support and resistance levels. So again, guys, if you do want to access these charts, visit my website, it's opticalartcrypto.com. The link will be in the description. Again, these charts play out live. Just click the link. They load up. They're shareable. You can save them as your own. Remember, if you want to qualify to win one of these coins, just subscribe, leave a like, and a comment. There will be 3 coins, 3 winners. The next live stream, I'll do a random comment selector to pick the 3 winners. And also follow me on Twitter. That's Optical Art Chart. So the link for Twitter and for my website, opticalartcrypto.com, will be in the description. Guys, that's it. Until the next video, trade smart, trade safe.